Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another gold making video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about all of the different knowledge point sources that you need to know about in Midnight. We're going to be covering the one-time sources, as well as the weekly sources, as well as a few bonus sources that you definitely want to make sure you pick up, and even talk about catch-up so you don't fall behind in Midnight. Knowledge points are extremely important to level up your professions. Whether you are a gatherer or crafter, you want to make sure you have as much knowledge points as possible to always stay competitive. But without further ado, feel free to use the timestamps down below if you already know about a few sources or you're looking for a specific type of profession, but let's get started. Now, first things first, there are two things that you need to complete before you start worrying about knowledge point sources. The first and the biggest thing is that you need to complete the campaign on at least one character. What this allows you to do is have world quest as well as other endgame content unlocked on your low-level alts, and also you don't have any zone restrictions on your alts either. This is extremely important for some of these knowledge point sources, and you will run into issues like phasing issues and things like that if you have not completed the campaign on at least one character. Secondly, you need to go ahead and get to skill level 25 in all of your professions. Now, a lot of these knowledge point sources can be completed at skill level 1, however, some of them do require skill 25, so I highly recommend just go ahead and level up to 25, so you're not worrying about exactly what you can and can't do, so you don't have to worry about that later. Moving on, we have all of our first-time knowledge point sources, and these are going to be different things that you can do once per profession to gain a large amount of knowledge points. For the gatherers out there, so if you either have herbalism or mining, skinners, this does not apply to you, you have a handful of first-time gatherers. Every single new node that you loot for the first time, this includes things like wild, primal, light fused, rich, etc., you will gain 1 knowledge point. Additionally, whenever you overload a node for the first time, you will gain another knowledge point, so you're looking at a handful for each profession via these first-time gatherers. Along those same lines, for all of the crafting professions out there, you have your first-time crafts, meaning every time you craft a new recipe, regardless if it's the trainer-learned recipes or something that you picked up from a vendor, you will be able to learn 1 knowledge point, and you'll get anywhere between 5 to 15 moxie as well. This is the best way to get a very large amount of knowledge points as a new crafting profession, and to all of the enchanters out there, don't forget about Gleeful Glamours. These are vendor-learned recipes, however, you cannot pick them up at the normal trainer. You have to go to the top of the university inside of Silvermoon. There is another trainer up there. She will teach you all of these Gleeful Glamour recipes, and every one you craft, you will get that knowledge point as well as some moxie. So definitely go and do that, and that's going to be, upwards to 20 plus knowledge points for all of your crafting professions. Moving on, for all professions, we have a few sources. The first one is 8 different knowledge point treasures. These are treasures that are scattered throughout all of the zones, and each of them give you plus 3 knowledge points. There are 8 of them for each profession, meaning if you go and collect all 8, you will get 24 knowledge points in total. Now, something to keep in mind, at the time of recording, there are a few missing and bugged treasures, meaning some professions will only have 7 out of the 8 available, but either way, you're looking at anywhere between 21 to 24 knowledge points per profession. Up next, every single profession, gathering as well as crafting, has reputation knowledge books. These are purchased at the different renown quartermasters. I will have a chart on screen saying which profession uses which quartermaster, but depending on the faction, you either need renown 6 or 9, and this costs you 75 artisan moxie, as well as 750 voidlight marl each. Honestly, the hardest thing is going to probably get the 750 voidlight marl, so definitely get out there and do any sort of world quest that gives you this currency. Do your weekly quest, do anything that gives you that currency, because you definitely are going to need it. It's going to add up pretty fast, especially if you have a lot of professions to buy these books for. But each book is going to give you plus 10 knowledge points, which is a good boost for all professions. And then lastly, the final one-time knowledge point source that we have is for all of the gathering professions as well as enchanting, but at the abundance vendor, you can purchase another knowledge point book, and that is going to give you another 10 knowledge points. Now, like I said before, this only covers enchanting, skinning, herbalism, and mining, but each of them cost 1600 unalloyed abundance as well as 75 moxie each. You will get this currency by doing the weekly abundant event on each character, and something to keep in mind is that this is the same currency that you're going to use to purchase the fused vitality, which is used to craft your epic profession equipment. So for these gathering professions, as well as enchanting, you'll have to decide if you want to go for epic tools first or purchase these knowledge point books. Now, moving on, we have our weekly sources, and this is where it's going to differ quite a bit depending on which profession you have. To keep it simple, we have all of the gathering professions, so skinning, mining, and herbalism. You will get a bulk of your knowledge points every single week through simply gathering. As you either skin mobs or loot nodes throughout the world, you will gain 5 different items that are going to grant you 1 knowledge point each, and after you gather those 5 different items, you will get 1 more item that grants you 3 knowledge points. So through simply just gathering, you will gain 8 knowledge points every single week. Along those same lines, for enchanters out there, you will gain 9 knowledge points per week by simply disenchanting. As you disenchant items, you will have an opportunity to gain 5 different items that grant you 1 knowledge point each, and then after you have those 5, you will get 1 more epic drop, which will give you that plus 4 knowledge points for a total of 9. This should be pretty simple to get. I think it took me about 20 disenchants per enchanter to get this, but at the end of the day, it does come to RNG, so you can either get this passively as you disenchant your old gear as you do different dungeons, or you can send over a bunch of items that you want to disenchant to get it all at once. Then for all the crafting professions, including enchanting, there are 4 knowledge points that you can get every single week via weekly treasures. There are treasures scattered around Voidstorm, and they are in the form of different satchels and different vessels, different little looting chests that you can get, and all of these have a chance to drop 2 different items that reward 2 knowledge points each. So assuming you have 2 crafting professions on 1 character, you're looking for 4 drops, and you'll get 4 knowledge points for each profession. Now, I got lucky on 1 character and it took me about 5 minutes to get all of the drops that I need, while another character it took me about 10 minutes. It seems like I can kind of get 3 out of the 4 drops pretty fast, with that 4th one taking a little bit longer, but at the end of the day, it is going to be RNG based, and do remember you have all week to collect all of the items that you need. Moving on, we have a few sources for all professions, and the first one is your weekly profession quest. Regardless of if you are a gathering profession or a crafting profession, you will have 1 quest from your profession trainer, and crafting professions will be asked to complete crafting orders. It's generally about 3 crafting orders per profession, and these can be public, private, or even patron crafting orders. So simply, it is up to you on what you want to complete, but for most professions, this is going to reward you either 2 or 3 knowledge points. And then for the gathering professions as well as enchanting, instead of doing crafting orders, you will be asked to turn in a certain amount of items. Now right now, with the prices of things, some of these turn-ins can be very expensive, but other times it should be pretty cheap, and as the expansion goes on, it should be relatively a cheap turn-in. But you can either just simply buy these off the auction house, or go and gather them yourself, and that will give you plus 3 knowledge points every single week. Then, yet again, for all of the professions, you have the weekly treaties that are crafted by scribes, and this will grant you another knowledge point every single week. If you have a scribe, you can craft these treaties for all of your different professions and mail them out to your different characters, or if you're somebody who doesn't have a scribe, you can simply order these through the crafting order system. A bonus is that if you are a scribe and you spec into Calm Hands, you will actually gain 2 knowledge points instead of 1 every single week, so that's a nice bonus if you have inscription on your character, but besides that, you're looking at 1 knowledge point per week, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it definitely adds up over time. Then moving on, we have our final weekly source, and this is only for crafting professions. And I'm sorry, enchanters, you are not included. And this is going to be one of your big weekly sources for all of the crafters out there, and this will be patron orders. Now, patron orders are a little bit unique because they kind of refresh every few days instead of necessarily being weekly, but you're going to be looking for the patron orders that give you the glimmers of knowledge, and these will grant you plus 2 knowledge points each. Sometimes there will also be patron orders that give you +1, and those are the flickers of knowledge, so whichever ones are available, you definitely want to do as many as possible, but do keep in mind that you will have to either provide materials sometimes, meaning these could be expensive, and sometimes you might not have the recipe that you need. For example, if one of them is asking for a high-end armor piece and you don't have that recipe, then you won't be able to complete that patron order. So this will vary based on your specializations as well as the day-to-day basis, but you can probably expect anywhere between 15 to 20 knowledge points every single week through patron orders. Now, outside of the one-time sources as well as weekly, you do have catch-up knowledge points, and this is particularly very useful if you are somebody who either started professions late, or maybe you accidentally forgot a source throughout another week. This will allow you to catch up on knowledge points. For crafters out there, your catch-up knowledge points will come in the form of patron orders. There's a flicker of knowledge that you see are technically your catch-up, so make sure you do as many patron orders as possible, and that will be your main catching up system for all of your crafting professions. For the enchanters out there, after you get your first initial disenchant knowledge points, you will continue to get items that grant you 1 knowledge point each until you finally catch up. It is important to note that in order to get the catch-up knowledge points, you need to complete your other weekly sources, so make sure you do that first if you want to see your catch-up points in the form of disenchanting. And the same thing applies for all the gatherers out there. You will continue to gain the gathered items that grant you +1 knowledge points as you gather and skin mobs, etc. But yet again, you need your other weekly sources done first. So if you are looking for catch up, but you're not getting any, definitely make sure you complete your other weekly sources so then your catch up can kick in. Then lastly, the final source that I want to quickly mention is a monthly source that you can do, and that is the Dark Moon Fair. Every single profession has a Dark Moon Fair profession quest, and they are extremely simple to complete. You can probably knock them out within less than 5 minutes, and if you do this every single month, every single quest will give you +3 knowledge points towards that profession, as well as 2 skill. So if you're somebody who either is trying to get your final few skill points to get 100 out of 100, or you're just looking for more knowledge points, you can go to the Dark Moon Fair every single month and get those items. A good thing to note is if you're watching this at the time of the video releasing, the Dark Moon Fair is currently up, so go out there and go get those knowledge points right now before it's over. But yeah guys, that's about it for all of the knowledge point sources in Midnight. Now if you're overwhelmed, don't worry, I do have one quick tip for you, and that is to download Mew's Knowledge Point Tracker. To those who played in Dragonflight or the War Within, Mew created a week aura for us that tracked all the knowledge points, and ever since all of the Midnight add-on restrictions, he has turned this into a standalone add-on. It is great because not only will it track your weekly sources, but it also tells you what sort of one-time sources you're missing, and things like profession treasures, it actually will have the coordinates and tell you exactly where you need to go pick it up. So if you're somebody who definitely wants to keep track of knowledge points every single week, including those catch-up knowledge points, definitely pick up this add-on. It is probably one of the most important gold making add-ons right now for the expansion. But everybody, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or tips for other players, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And as always everybody, have a good day.